I am Diane Lucas,
And this is Mick Smith.
and welcome to Love Letters. Love Letters are collection of love stories of people get lost, get crazy, and disoriented in the name of love. And thank you so much for listening. And another inspiring topic that we're gonna talk about with Mr. Mick.
Yes, indeed.
How's your week, Mr. Mick?
I'm fantastic, very productive, and I keep at it all the time.
Yes, yes, yes. And did you find love this week, Mr. Meg? What will be our topic for today?
Alrighty then. So we're going to talk about in love letters love's subtle language. So what is love's subtle language and understanding emotional authenticity? We've all been there, trapped
Oh,
in that
yes.
liminal space between genuine connection and comfortable illusion, wondering if what we're experiencing is truly love. Love is not a simple binary of presence or absence, but a complex emotional landscape with terrain as varied and nuanced as human experience itself.
Yes.
I was thinking about this topic. One song that addresses connection and illusion was I'm Not in Love by 10cc, one of those great songs from the 70s. And the theme of love and I'm Not in Love by 10cc is a complex and nuanced one. On the surface, the song appears to be about a person who's trying to convince themselves that they are not in love with someone, hence the title, despite the overwhelming evidence to the contrary. However, as the lyrics delve deeper, it becomes clear that the song is actually about the pain and vulnerability that come with loving someone. The song's protagonist is trying to protect themselves from the hurt and rejection that can come with opening themselves up to love. But ultimately, they are unable to deny the feelings that they have. And the song's use of the phrase, I'm not in love, so don't forget it, becomes a sort of mantra, a way for the protagonist to convince themselves that they are not vulnerable, but ultimately rings hollow. The song is a powerful exploration of the human experience and the ways in which we try to protect ourselves from the pain of loving and being loved. The lyrics do not suggest I'm not in love. They are ultimately about the vulnerability of loving. And we've explored some of this in previous episodes. So the love guidelines do exist, and we talked about this in 1 Corinthians 13, the revolutionary concept of love in Taoism. In summary of these episodes, as we navigate the complexities of modern dating, it's essential that we prioritize the well being of another person above our own desires and needs and strive to cultivate relationships built on emotional intimacy, mutual understanding, and selfless love. And that's clear from 1 Corinthians 13. Today, love continues to be relevant as a countercultural initiative promoting acceptance, understanding, and authenticity. We covered that in the episode Revolutionary. By embracing the uncertainty and impermanence of love, we can find a sense of freedom and liberation, ultimately, a more profound and fulfilling experience of romantic love. And that was the episode on Taoism. Not every connection that feels warm or familiar represents authentic love. Sometimes what we perceive as love is merely an intricate psychological construct, a carefully assembled facade built from fear, habit, and unexamined emotional patterns. Imagine love as a living, breathing ecosystem, a complex terrain more nuanced than romance novels or Hollywood narratives would ever suggest. We've all found ourselves in that disorienting emotional wilderness, questioning, am I truly in love? This moment of uncertainty isn't a failure, but it's an extraordinary opportunity for profound self discovery. The first fundamental truth is that love transcends mere attraction or convenience. In conclusion, it's a dynamic, evolving experience of mutual understanding, growth, and profound connection.
Yes, yes, indeed. But before we go on, Mr. Mick, I want to plug in our Music 101 that we just did a while ago. Music 101 people on our second season already. So please do listen. Music 101. We talk about anything under the sun of music. So please do tune in and watch us live every Saturday, 8 a.m. PST. So, Music 101. So, Mr. Mick, what is a neurological architecture of love?
Yeah, so love isn't just an emotion, it's a sophisticated neurobiological experience. Our brains are remarkable storytelling machines capable of creating elaborate narratives that masquerade as genuine connection. Neuroscientific research reveals that what we often mistake for love is a complex interplay of hormones, psychological patterns, and survival mechanisms. But that's not all. Love can and does grow over time until it becomes our behavior, our virtue, connection, and pathways of the brain. So I'm always thinking of songs, speaking of Music 101, a song that indicates the complexity of love is You Don't Know Me by Eddie
Yes.
Arnold, a great version and done many times. So lyrics, you give your hand to me and then you say hello, and I can hardly speak, my heart is beating so. And anyone could tell you, think you know me well, but you don't know me. No, you don't know the one who dreams of you at night and longs to kiss your lips and longs to hold you tight. To you, I'm just a friend. That's all I've ever been. But you don't know me, for I never knew the art of making love, though my heart aches with the love for you. Afraid and shy, I let my chance go by, the chance you might have loved me too. You gave your hand to me, and then you said goodbye. I watch you walk away beside a lucky guy. You'll never
Wow.
know the theme on the one who knows you. No, you don't know me. What a great song with phenomenal lyrics, right? So,
Yes.
this is a song written by Cindy Walker based on the title and the storyline given to her by Eddie Arnold in 1955. You Don't Know Me was first recorded by Arnold that year, released as a single in 1956 on RCA Victor. Actually, the best-selling version of that song is, of course, by the classic version by Ray Charles, who took it to #2 on the Billboard Hot 100 chart in 1962 after releasing the song on his absolutely groundbreaking #1 album, Modern Sounds in Country and Western Music. So there's also another version that hit the charts in 1956 by Jerry Vale, and Arnold's version then charted 2 months later. So great song, and you can tell by just how many people have recorded it and then also made a hit with it. So talk about this and authentic love emerges. It triggers a unique neurochemical symphony. Oxytocin, dopamine, and serotonin dance in precise choreography, creating sensations of safety, excitement, and deep contentment. Conversely, relationships lacking genuine love generate a different chemical profile marked by cortisol driven anxiety, intermittent dopamine spikes of temporary excitement, but an underlying sense of emotional depletion. So, trying to distinguish between what is true love and is not, there's actually this neurobiological foundation to it. But the contrasting conditions help us to recognize true love as opposed to the counterfeit. Consider the emotional texture of your interactions. Genuine love generates a sense of expansiveness. Conversations flow with genuine curiosity. Silences feel comfortable, and individual growth is not just tolerated, but celebrated. Conversely, when love is missing, interactions often feel performative and rote. It's what we would say, and we all know couples like this who are simply going through the motions. Conversations become carefully choreographed dances of protection where vulnerability is rationed and authentic self expression feels risky. The neurological landscape of love is a symphony of intricate biochemical interactions, far more complex than our romantic narratives suggest. Imagine the brain as an elaborate communication network where neurotransmitters and hormones act as messenger molecules, creating elaborate emotional landscapes that shift and transform with each interaction. Modern neuroscience reveals that love is not a singular experience, but a constellation of neurochemical responses. That initial spark of attraction triggers a cascade of dopamine, similar to the neurological responses associated with addictive experiences. That's why new love can feel intoxicating. It literally is. Our brains are quite literally experiencing a form of biochemical euphoria. Functional MRI studies have shown that when individuals in love view images of their partners, Specific brain regions light up, particularly associated those with reward, motivation, and emotional regulation. So emotions can be deceiving, and not surprisingly, cautions lovers like counselors will say, don't rush into relationships and we pass that so-called honeymoon stage. More long-lasting relationships are built over time with a sound foundation. The complexity of relationships deepens when we consider the long-term neurological patterns of love. Oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone, creates neurological pathways of trust and attachment. Unlike the initial explosive chemistry of attraction, long term love involves a more subtle neurological dance. The brain actually rewires its neural networks, creating shared cognitive and emotional landscapes between partners. This neuroplasticity means that genuine love is not just an emotion, but it's a profound process of mutual neurological adaptation where two distinct neural networks learn to communicate, compromise, and create shared meaning. I think in this way, we can begin to understand a little bit how love is a decision, as we've seen in 1 Corinthians 13. It's not just a simply an emotion or erotic attraction. We literally decide to love, and the brain begins to rewire itself in harmony with the beloved. So, in conclusion, long term relationships that can endure the worst things in life as life dishes out sickness, tragedy, betrayal, and even death.
So love is not forever.
That's right.
So, Mr. Mick, what are the attachment styles?
Yes, it's important to know. And if people can figure this out, they have a better sense of who they are. These are the invisible architects of connection. Psychological research reveals that our attachment styles, formed in childhood, profoundly influence our romantic experiences. Our childhood experiences are the blueprint for adult romantic interactions. Attachment theory provides this profound network and framework for understanding why we connect or fail to connect authentically. There's three attachment styles along with three characteristics for each. So number one, secure attachment. It's characterized by emotional fluidity or a vibe, comfortable with intimacy and independence. Relationships feel like collaborative journeys. And like anything, this always reminds me of a song, You're the One by the Vogues, 1965. Song's lyrics describe a person who is searching for a sense of security and stability in a relationship, which can be seen as a reflection of that secure attachment style. And this song peaked at number 4 in 1965, written by Petula Clark and her songwriting partner. Second attachment style, two, anxious attachment, constant need for reassurance, fear of abandonment driving interactions, mistaking intensity for intimacy. The anxious attachment style might compel us to mistake intensity for intimacy, mistaking emotional turbulence for passion. And those are trauma bonds, which a psychologist will also talk about in some detail. I'd propose a pop song from the 60s that captures the idea of anxious attachment. You're No Good, Betty Everett, 1963. It describes a person who's desperate for love and attention, but's constantly worried that their partner will leave them. The song's chorus repeats the phrase, you're no good, you're no good, you're no good, you're no good, which could be seen as a reflection of the anxious attachment style. Individuals are overly concerned with rejection and abandonment. The song's themes of desperation, clinginess, and a fear of being left behind might be seen as a reflection of the anxious attachment style, characterized by a strong desire for intimacy and also a fear of rejection. So that anxious style is a sophisticated emotional self-protection mechanism. Individuals with this attachment pattern have typically experienced inconsistent early caregiving, developing hypervigilant emotional monitoring systems. Their relationships become an elaborate dance of proximity and distance, constantly negotiating the delicate balance between fear of abandonment, but also clinging to any connection. It's not weakness, but a complex adaptive strategy developed to manage emotional uncertainty, if not trauma. These individuals often hone their emotions, having learned to read subtle emotional nuances as a survival mechanism. Another song that comes to mind along these lines, I'll Never Fall in Love Again, Dionne Warwick, 1969. person who's hurt in past relationships, hesitant to open up to love again. And that chorus comes back, I'll never love again. So all kinds of other songs that could be along those lines. Don't Go by the Crying Shames, 1966. Lyrics describe a person desperate to hold on to a relationship and willing to do anything to keep their partner from leaving, which could be a reflection of that anxious, preoccupied attachment style. Last but not least, third, avoidant attachment, emotional distancing as a protective mechanism, fear of vulnerability, creating barriers to genuine connection. The avoidant attachment style reflects another remarkable psychological adaptation. Where anxious attachment seeks constant connection, avoidant attachment creates protective emotional boundaries. These individuals have learned that vulnerability leads to pain and thus develop remarkable strategies of emotional self preservation. Their apparent emotional distance is not coldness, but a sophisticated defense mechanism. Interestingly, many avoidant individuals possess deep emotional capacities, but have developed intricate ways of protecting those capacities from potential harm. And along these lines, I couldn't think too quickly because it really came to mind. Consider I Am a Rock by Simon and Garfunkel. That really tells you this song. Lyrically, the song develops a theme of isolation. The narrator has distanced himself from others after being hurt in love, rejecting connection with other people, and declaring he is a rock and an island. He says, I am alone, gazing from my window to the streets below on the freshly fallen shroud of snow. I am a rock. I am an island. I've built walls, a fortress steep and mighty that none may penetrate. I have no need of friendship. Friendship causes pain. Its laughter and its loving I disdain. I am a rock. I am an island. Don't talk of love. Well, I've heard the word before. It's sleeping in my memory. I won't disturb the slumber of feelings that have died. If I never loved, I never would have cried. I am a rock. I am an island. I have my books and my poetry to protect me. I am shielded in my armor, hiding in my room, safe within my womb. I touch no one, and no one touches me. And it's that refrain, I am a rock, I am an island. So that really does nail that type of neurological response and love. That's the avoidant attachment that leads us to maintain emotional distance, interpreting detachment as independence. So there's other songs that might come to mind. I Never Find Another You by the Seekers, 1965. But it's all having to do with detachment, self sufficiency, and that reluctance to open up to others. Each of these attachment styles represents a survival strategy developed in childhood, now playing out in adult relationships. Understanding these patterns is like discovering a map to your emotional terrain. The body and brain offer sophisticated signals. Authentic love triggers neurochemical responses that differ dramatically from mere attraction or companionship. Oxytocin, toxin, often called that bonding hormone, creates a sense of safety and connection. When it's absent, interactions feel transactional, a exchange of needs rather than a genuine merging of emotional worlds. One fascinating development in attachment style applies to our modern digital age. Here, bring it up to the update. Attachment styles also play a significant role in emoji use. According to attachment theory studies, there's three primary attachment styles, which covered anxious, avoidant, and secure. Anxious attachments develop when children experience inconsistent caregiving, feeling loved at times but neglected at others, leaving them to crave intimacy while fearing abandonment. Avoidant attachment typically arises when caregivers are emotionally distant or dismissive, making it harder for them to form closer relationships later on. In contrast, secure attachment is characterized by comfort and trust in close relationships. A study revealed that people with secure attachment styles use emojis more frequently. It's interesting, especially in close, intimate relationships. Securely attached people are generally better at managing emotions and forming supportive bonds, researchers noted. In contrast, those with avoidant attachment who are uncomfortable with emotional closeness use emojis less, particularly in relationship with close friends or romantic partners. That suggests an avoidant individual may be less inclined to use emojis to bridge emotional distances. So very interesting, bring up to date to the digital age, and he ties in with good psychological theory. Attachment theory is less a scientific framework and a more profound map of human emotional survival strategies. Our earliest relationships, typically with primary caregivers, parents, and siblings, create intricate psychological blueprints that we unconsciously carry into adult romantic connections. In conclusion, these are not mere childhood memories, but active, dynamically operating psychological systems that interpret and respond to relational experiences.
So, Mr. Mick, what is the anatomy of inauthentic love?
Are just as important to find out what love is to say what love isn't. So, how do we recognize when a connection lacks genuine love? There are those individuals who are so unattached, avoidant, or anxious they can't love. A lack of genuine love can be about understanding subtle energetic signatures. When love is absent, signs are often subtle, whispering rather than shouting their presence, or other times they are shouting loud and clear, but the individual refuses to hear. Always reminds me of a song, Can't Buy Me Love, the Beatles. So, a pop song that expresses the idea of inauthentic love. And the song's lyrics, written by Paul McCartney, suggest that the speaker is trying to buy the love of someone rather than genuinely earning it. The chorus repeats the phrase, Can't buy me love, emphasizing that love cannot be purchased or manipulated. The song's protagonist is willing to do whatever it takes to get the person they love to stay with them, including showering them with gifts and attention. However, lyrics also hint at the idea that this love is not genuine and the speaker is trying to buy their way into the other person's heart. So it's a commentary on the superficiality of modern love and how ways that people try to manipulate or buy their way into relationships. And what helps, of course, catchy melody and upbeat tempo. But inauthentic love has some emotional indicators. Conversations feel performative, rote, and a cascade of emotions. Interactions generate more anxiety than comfort. Minimal, genuine curiosity about the other's person's inner world. Communication feels like negotiation, bargaining, rather than exploration. There are some psychological markers as well, the constant need for external validation, feeling emotionally drained after interactions, suppressing authentic self to maintain connection. Relationships feel transactional. Red flags of a connection lacking genuine love include communication characterized by having to protect oneself rather than curiosity or revelation about the other person, minimal genuine curiosity about the other's inner landscape, feeling more anxious than secure in the relationship. Recognizing the absence of love is not a failure, but it's an act of profound self respect and emotional intelligence. It requires courage to acknowledge that a relationship might not be serving your deepest emotional needs. So there's a courage of emotional honesty. The path forward involves radical honesty. This means creating space for uncomfortable truths, understanding that relationships are not fixed entities, but dynamic experiences. Some connections are meant to be teachers, not lifelong partners. They offer crucial lessons about ourselves, our patterns, and our evolving understanding of intimacy. Or a relationship may work for a time and run its course, but it's not love. Recognizing the absence of love requires extraordinary courage. It means confronting uncomfortable truths, challenging comfortable illusions, and choosing personal growth over familiar discomfort. In conclusion, this isn't about blame or judgment. Every relationship is a teacher, offering crucial lessons about ourselves, our patterns, and our evolving understanding of intimacy.
Very well said, Mr. Mick. Very well said. And how about the practical emotional strategies?
Yes, comprehensive exploration is required. Self reflection is not a passive process, but it's an active, transformative psychological practice. Think of it as internal cartography, methodically mapping the complex terrain of your emotional landscape. Journaling becomes more than record keeping, it's a sophisticated dialogue with your subconscious, allowing hidden patterns and unexplored emotional narratives to emerge into consciousness. Always reminds me of songs, of course. Emotional Strategies, You Don't Own Me by Leslie Gore, 1963. Here it's suggesting the speaker is trying to assert their independence and autonomy in a relationship. And that phrase, you don't own me, emphasizes the idea that the speaker is not willing to be controlled or manipulated by their partner. Lyrics also hint at the idea that speaker is using emotional strategies to get what they want, such as playing hard to get or using guilt to manipulate their partner. So this is interpreted as a commentary on the power dynamics in relationship and the ways that people use emotional strategies to get what they want. If you're talking about emotional strategies that the song may express, and playing hard to get, using guilt, asserting independence, it's a classic example of a pop song that explores the complexities of love and relationships. There's several emotional strategies that may help us understand love. Meditation in this context transcends relaxation techniques. It becomes a precise instrument of psychological exploration, a method of creating spaciousness around emotional experiences. By practicing mindful observation, individuals learn to distinguish between reactive emotional patterns and authentic emotional experiences. This is not about suppressing emotions, but developing a nuanced understanding of their origins, trajectories, and underlying messages. Therapeutic exploration represents a collaborative journey of psychological discovery. A skilled therapist is not a fixer, but a skilled guide helping individuals navigate the complex terrains of their attachment histories. And this unpacks generational emotional patterns. There's several helpful strategies. I'll mention three. Self-reflection practices. So, daily journaling, meditation on relational patterns, therapeutic exploration of attachment histories. Two, radical honesty framework, creating space for uncomfortable emotions, developing emotional literacy, understanding love as a dynamic, evolving experience. And three, relational intelligence development, learning to differentiate attraction from love, recognizing love's multidimensional nature, practicing compassionate self understanding. So, practical steps include deep self reflection, therapeutic exploration of attachment patterns, and cultivating emotional literacy. It's not about blame, but understanding. Each relationship, regardless of a duration, offers an opportunity for personal growth and self discovery. Ultimately, love is a practice, a continuous choice of mutual understanding, respect, and shared evolution. It's not about finding a perfect partner, but about growing together, supporting each other's individual journeys while creating a shared emotional landscape. If you find yourself in a connection that doesn't resonate with love's authentic frequency, remember this is not an ending, but a beginning. It's an invitation to deeper self understanding, to recalibrating your emotional compass, and creating space for more meaningful connections. In conclusion, the most courageous act is not staying in a relationship that doesn't serve you, but having the wisdom to recognize when it's time to release, heal, and open yourself up to more authentic possibilities.
Yes, people, let it go. Let it go if you are no longer happy. So, what can be done when love is not present?
Sure, because then you want to know what to do. So, is a need for navigating transition. If you recognize your current relationship lacks authentic love, there's three steps to take. One, emotional excavation. Acknowledge the relationship's current landscape, identify underlying motivations, practice compassionate self understanding. Two, communication strategies. Have honest, non blaming conversations, express emotional authenticity, prioritize mutual understanding. And three, personal development. Invest in individual growth, explore personal passions, build emotional resilience, and create space for transformation. In conclusion, there's steps to take when you know and recognize a relationship you're in one without love.
Yes, for sure. So, what are the philosophical dimensions of love?
So, love is a philosophical concept that transcends mere emotional experience, emerging as a system which is very complex of human connection that challenges our most fundamental understanding of self and relationship. It's less a static state and a more dynamic, living process of mutual becoming, a continuous negotiation between individual autonomy and shared vulnerability. Philosophers from Plato to bell hooks have wrestled with love's multidimensional nature, recognizing it as a revolutionary act of human connection that simultaneously affirms individual identity and creates transformative collective experiences. So, some songs that always remind me of this along these lines: what the world needs now is love, Jackie DeShannon, 1965. And we can consider love along these lines as an ecological system rather than a transactional exchange. Just as natural ecosystems thrive through intricate, interdependent relationships, human love represents a sophisticated network of emotional, psychological, and energetic interactions. Each connection creates subtle shifts, not unlike the way a single organism's change can ripple through an entire ecosystem. Our romantic connections become microcosms of larger relational patterns, revealing deep truths about human capacity for empathy, growth, and mutual understanding. The most profound philosophical perspective on love, recognizing it as a practice of radical presence. It demands we continuously choose connection over protection, vulnerability over safety, growth over comfort. This isn't romantic idealism, but a sophisticated understanding of human potential. Love becomes a collaborative art form, a creative process where two individuals co create a shared emotional landscape, constantly negotiating boundaries, supporting individual evolution, and maintaining a delicate balance between independence and intimate connection. In conclusion, love is not just about the deepest human philosophical question to ponder.
Yes, indeed. So, what will be your closing reflections about love, Mr. Mick?
Navigating love's complex terrain is daunting, but the most rewarding personal relationships humans can have. Understanding love requires dismantling romantic myths and embracing love's complexity as a transformative human experience. Our cultural narratives often reduce love to a simplistic or erotic emotion, but it's far more: a sophisticated interplay of neurological, psychological, spiritual, and philosophical processes that reveal our deepest human capacities for connection, healing, and mutual growth. What I'm most interested in is emphasizing is that authentic love is revealed over time. When you first date someone, you might feel super excited and happy all the time, and that's because of the chemical called dopamine. But as time goes on, another chemical called oxytocin begins to kick in. Oxytocin is sometimes called the love hormone or the cuddle hormone. It's made in your brain and it helps you feel closer to your partner. When you hug or cuddle someone you care about, your brain releases oxytocin. And this hormone helps you feel less stressed and more relaxed around your loved one. It's also released in large amounts during important moments like giving birth or breastfeeding. Another hormone called vasopressin also plays a role in making your bond with your partner stronger. Scientists have studied prairie moles, which are animals that stick with one partner, and found that vasopressin levels were linked to how close the animals were. In humans, vasopressin can make you feel like you want to take care of and protect your partner. These biological processes suggest that love is a choice and not only a feeling. The human brain literally rewires itself to bond with that one beloved companion. Feelings over time become the human virtues of loyalty, dedication, protection, and love. The journey of authentic love is not about finding a perfect partner or simply sharing interest, but developing the emotional intelligence to create genuine, supportive connections. This involves continuous self reflection, understanding our attachment patterns, and developing the courage to be vulnerably authentic. Each relationship becomes a profound learning experience, offering insights into our emotional landscapes, helping us to understand ourselves more deeply and expanding our capacity for mutual connection. Ultimately, love is a courageous act of continuous choice. It requires us to stay present, communicate with radical honesty, continuous collaborative exploration.
Yes, indeed. Love, love, love is in the air, people. The neurological architecture of love is a complex interplay of the brain system, chemicals, and emotions that orchestrate one of the most profound human experience. Another great, great topic. And Mr. Mick, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Daniel. Day is
More to
long.
come, people. See you soon. We have a great topic today, Mr. Mick.
I
It's
hope so.
something, something. Yes, it's so